Hello, how you doing? What's happening, everyone? Good to be here. I'm sitting here drinking my green tea as always. I'm in the States, but this time tomorrow I'll be back on a flight back going to Japan. I always bring green tea to my family. I think it's cool for them to see that. But today I want to share a story, non-green tea related, but still about Japan. So I'm going to share a lot with you guys. But first, I do want to remind you we are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So wherever you are, whatever is your favorite, source, go to check it out every week. I'm here every single week, dropping some knowledge and sharing stories. So speaking of stories, I want to share a story with you today about my favorite kimono. It's kind of funny, like a lot of my friends who are in the States, they don't realize there are different types of kimonos, but there really are. Not only different types of kimonos, but different seasons of kimonos. Since I've been living in Japan, I really like to take pictures of women in these different types of kimonos. I think they're very cool, especially when you add in a modern day twist to it. So these types of kimonos are very special. They're great for photographers. I'm going to share what they are in a second, but first I want you to check them out because I think these are just so wickedly cool. Now, one thing about living in Japan is I get to see a lot of really cool stuff. And this is one of my favorite locations on top of Tokyo, looking all over. And this particular location goes 360 all around Tokyo. You can see it on a clear day, all the way to Mount Fuji. It's incredible. Now, look at this kimono. This is actually called a fude sode. Fude sode. And this is worn by women who are younger, not married. So if you see a woman in a fude sode, it means she's not married, she's younger. And because of that, they're more colorful. The sleeves are longer. And I love taking pictures in these types of kimonos because they're really beautiful and more elaborate than you might see a woman who is older. I'll show you the difference in a second, but I think these are just so cool. So whenever I'm doing a shoot, I try to get movement in these. I play around. So with pictures, I think it's wonderful to get this vibe of kimono versus what you'll see as a tourist. A tourist kimono is more like a robe. It's not a kimono really at all. But most foreigners who come to Japan don't know it, can't see the difference, but it's a big difference. Big difference in price and in the look. This is the real deal. Look at the bow on her back. That's a real kimono um, tied in the back. And the obi is tied in a very elaborate, fashionable way. And the kimono itself is very fashionable as well. And then there are layers underneath. Now, it does depend on the season because every season there's a different type of kimono based on the weather and the thickness of the kimono. Now, this one we were out and it was like breaking winter going into spring. So it wasn't really that warm, but there's still a lot of layers here. And it was so beautiful watching them put it on. It's hard to put on a kimono for women. So you have to either take lessons or you go to a kimono sensei to have it done. And in this case, we went to have this one put on by a professional who knew how to tie it, put together, find the right obi or right. The obi is like the belt you see around the middle. That part, that big thick part, is the obi, and that little small sash in the middle, that little tie, all that's part of the obi. And when you start looking at the detail, you see like material underneath as well. So watching this is just so beautiful and intricate, and I love the whole process. And for me, my favorite kimonos are the fude sode. They're just so beautiful. Every time I shoot anybody, for the most part, they're in a fude sode. Like this girl here, she's wearing the fude sode. She has her own twist to adding parts of it into her hair to make it different and cool. And I just love this. Seeing it done this way is just so special and different and intricate. Now, when you see this right away, you know this woman is younger. um, fashionable, and I like seeing women who are putting their own spin to these little kimonos, furesode, and giving it their own special look to it. It's just wonderful to see. Now, this is more a traditional kimono. It's not as elaborate. The sleeves are not as long. And this is what you'll see women who are wearing when they're a little older. Even though this girl who's wearing this one right now, she is not older, but we want her in a more traditional kimono. So you can see that difference. And I want you to see that difference as well. This one is more understated, more classic, more subtle, no bright colors. The sleeves aren't as long, still beautiful. And to make this one a little different, she wore different shoes. She wore more Western shoes with this traditional kimono. You don't really see that often, but this was a nice spin to see how she brought her own energy and attitude to even a modern day formal kimono and added her shoes to it to give it that little twist. Very cool to see. But again, what I love is the furesode because these long sleeves and the bright colors and all of this make it so cool, um, especially when they're moving. So here, this is even more elaborate. The furesode, she has these big, gigantic fans, or sensu is the word for fan in Japanese. So she's playing with these big, gigantic sensus that have this big, long partition at the end to move around, catch the movement. Same girl with a sword, and yes, she does know how to use the sword. She's a professional actress and was playing around. A lot of fun. So this is what I love to shoot. The furesode, they are fantastic and fun to shoot. And for photographers, I think this is the way to go if you're shooting a Japanese kimono. So remember that word, furesode. Now, I love talking about photography in all kind of ways. And today I want to go deeper into photo techniques. So let's dive into a little dropping some knowledge here about photography. All right. So I'm in the States now, but I'll be heading back to Japan tomorrow. And I do remind you all that also, if you have any questions about anything you've seen already, furesode, or about what you're about to see, stick around to the end because I will be answering your questions live on, again, this is streaming on all those channels, Facebook, Twitch, um, YouTube, of course. Find out where you want to watch it and come on in. So we are there for you: YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, live every single week. So stick around at the end because at the end I'll be answering your questions, whatever they are, live. Good seeing all you here. I love seeing you guys being here. I'm going to answer all those questions at the end. So stick around. I see them coming in already. So Roxy says, I love the colors. They are so cool, man. I got to tell you. The colors on the furesodes rock. All right, let's dive into today's dropping knowledge. I'm going to go and talk about today's topic for today. Today, we're going to go a little deeper into photography and talk about advanced lighting techniques for portraits. Now, there are a lot of ways you can take portraits, but lighting does make a huge difference in your photography. And I want to share some tips on some techniques that you may not notice right away when it comes to lighting. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Matthew Jordan Smith. I'm a professional photographer living in Tokyo, working between Tokyo, New York, and LA, back and forth all the time. I'm also a Nikon ambassador. I love this industry. It's been good to me and it can be good to you once you learn all the techniques and so much more. This is why today I want to talk about advanced lighting techniques for doing portraits beyond just your normal stuff. I want to get down into the weeds of everything and share some tips that might help you in your photography journey, no matter where you are. Now, of course, when it comes to normal portraits, that's one thing, but I want to go beyond just the normal stuff today. Like this picture actually is taken with somewhat of a normal light. It's one light, but it's a hard source. And I put this one in here for the advanced lighting techniques because I think when you have a subject in front of you that's beyond normal and you want to bring attention to it, you can't use a simple flat light because it takes away from the energy of the shot. So for this image, I use a hard light source. And you can tell by the shadows under her chin, this gives it the pop, the energy, the texture. The colors even come alive more with a harder light source versus something soft like a big softbox. It would look very different. It would feel very different if I were to use a very soft light. But today, I want to go deeper than talking about just a simple light. Because even though this is a hard light, it's kind of simple. What was the different part about this shot was the model and her energy. If you saw her on America's Next Top Model, yep, you got it. She's the girl from ATM, ANTM, and bringing her energy for me this day. We had a lot of fun working together. So much fun. Now, this is part of an advanced lighting technique. I love playing with this one. When you look at this image, it looks like there's two lights, one light lighting her from behind and one light lighting her from the front. It could even look like it's like sunlight lighting her, but it is not. So I shot this in London, and this is an image I shot in a small studio, and I did use just one light. So that light is behind the model, and then in front of the model, I have a mirror. Super simple. Now, it looks like there's so much going on here, but it's really, again, like I said, that one light lighting her hair from behind, and that light hitting my mirror and reflecting back into her face. Love doing stuff like this. Super fun technique, and I've been doing this one for definitely well over maybe 2 decades. So here we have super advanced lighting. If you look very closely, you'll see that she is outside, and you'll see elements just slightly in the background to show the sense of being outside. I did this shot right before the Tokyo Olympics, and I want to get a runner in midair, and I want to drop the sky down really dark so she stands out. So if I'm doing a shot for, say, a product like Nike, for example, I want that product to stand out, the gear. So I want to get the sense of her being, in an environment, but not really show it. What's cool about lighting is that you can adjust the time of day. This is like middle of the day, Tokyo, bright blue sky day, but I want to drop the sky down really dark. So I used a lot of power to overpower the sun. And once you understand what it takes to get sunlight can only be so bright, right? There's the thing called the F16 rule. For those who are old school, remember that rule, which means that the sun can only be so bright. Once you know that information, you can make your strobe light in this situation go far beyond sunlight and drop the sky down. And you can do it in increments. I can have it where it looks more twilight, darker, lighter, totally up to you. And then because it's a really fast sync speed, what that means is the flash comes on really fast and it can stop and freeze the moment, which I want to do as this woman is in the middle of doing her jump. I want to freeze that moment. So I need a super fast sync speed, shutter speed, and flash duration, very short flash duration to capture this moment. And that's how we got this shot. Love playing around with light, and this is just one of the many things that I play around with a lot all the time. And is there a reflector on this shot? No, there's no reflector on this shot, but I will take all those questions at the end, so I make sure I answer the right question for the right image and go from there. So stick around for the questions at the end. Here's a technique I super love playing around with. This one is two lights on this one. And if you look really close, you'll see movement and you'll see the slight image of her face just under her face. You'll see that movement. And of course, you're seeing the red movement as well. So here I'm doing a 2-second exposure. And I have a light that's a constant light source that captures her moving. And then at the very end of her movement, I have a flash, again, with a very short flash duration to catch her and freeze her at the end. So this is like a 2-second exposure. The camera opens up. It captures all her movement, and then I freeze it at the end and pop to get that image. I want to show you another version of this because I have many versions. And what's so cool about these types of images, you can never do the same image twice, making it very unique and very different. And that's so cool. So here's another model doing the same technique basically, but because it's a different person and we all move differently, it's a different vibe in the movement. It's more subtle, it's sexier, it's different. And on this one, I have my main light on the opposite side. So she's moving from right to left, and the other one's moving from left to right. You can play around with this any way you want. And it's so cool playing around and getting this kind of energy and images. And again, when you're doing this, every picture looks different. It feels different. Even if I were to go back and photograph her today, it would be very different. And tell her to do the same thing, wear the same top, she would look very different because we all move differently. And even when it's the same person, you can't replicate that movement the same way twice. It's impossible. I love that about photography. When you can have something that's very unique, especially today, where it stands out and you stand out as a photographer. Now, this today is all about advanced lighting techniques, and I love sharing that. And I've got a course where I go through and talk about this in a lot more detail because there's a lot to get this just right. So I give you that in my course. Now, maybe you wonder about what kind of course I have. It is a photography lighting course. Today I've been talking about advanced lighting techniques, but you can't just jump in with the advanced stuff. You got to dive in first and learn more. Learn the basics, master the basics, and then take it step by step. It's not something you just learn one time and so see it one time and then you have it. It takes practice and practice and practice, and then you get it. That's what I love about this industry. It's never the same. You're always learning. It never gets old or boring. And it's kept me in this industry for a long time. Hopefully, it can keep you also in this industry for a long time, no matter where you are on your journey. So let me go and talk more about this now and talk about this course. I want to introduce you to photography lighting course, the course that I put together just for you to help you grow and advance as a photographer and learn all about lighting. In the course, I have online modules. You can take it 24/7, 7 days a week, anytime you want, totally up to you. There is no on or off time. These modules are yours to take and learn everything about photography lighting. But there's two components to this course. It's not just the online segment, there's also live training. And this is where I come in every single week and answer your questions and look at your work and help you grow as a photographer. Yep, that happens every single week. And all my training for this course is based on my years of experience working as a professional photographer, doing portraits of people like Oprah and Zendaya and Sam Jackson and more. And I've learned this by training as a photographer first, started my career being a photo assistant, training under photographers. Then I started on my own and took it to where I am today, traveling all over the world. So in this course, it's like you get me right beside you to help you master the art of photography. But that's what I've been saying. I want you to now hear what my students say about this course. This is a course with people from all over the world talking about what they love about this course.
So initially, I thought this would be just straight up lighting, 101 on how to do lighting, and it's so much more. It's about how to really be a photographer, how to see light, not just execute it like many other people teach you how to set up the lights and do that. This is a much more profound and fundamental class.
Really want to take my photography and my business to the next level. And some of the things that I kind of had instinctually thought that maybe I should start doing, he touched on those, but then expanded upon them. And it was just like there were so many aha moments in just like that free 1 hour webinar that I was like, you know what? I need to sign up for his actual course because if I got that much out of 1 hour of a free webinar, I knew that the content of the course itself was going to have so much more. And it has, like, every single day, like either people post things on the Facebook group and I see things, or just the actual modules or the weekly live things, weekly live sessions. There is always so much that I am having constant little aha or inspiration or just things to help push me along.
Being a part of PLC has given me the courage to do things that I was apprehensive. I think in module 1 you talked about natural light, and I was one of those people that say I like natural light. I want to go outside and shoot during the daytime, and being in PLC is giving me the strength and the courage to go in a studio. I'm shooting almost every weekend, whether it's a gig or it's a client, but I'm just getting a volume of work. So
originally, when I signed up to the course, I thought it was just going to be an online class, and kind of learn as I go along, and then that'd be the end of it. But the courses have actually given me a lot more. Because of the group on Facebook. There's a lot more content that gets put in the group than I initially thought was going to be a part of the course. The live question and answer sessions that you do every week are really valuable, and again, something I totally didn't expect to get when I enrolled for the course. So really good.
You know, I've been involved with some other Facebook groups, and kind of you don't get as much interaction. But with this one, you know, you get a lot of feedback. So it's great. You know, whenever I've had plenty of questions already, and everyone's just been so friendly and willing to jump in and help. And everyone is truly willing to help. And the other great thing is the modules that you've created. I've already gone through them multiple times, and I keep going back and referring to the modules. So, you know, whenever I have a photo shoot or anything coming up, it's great to kind of have that to refer back to.
I love sharing the joy of photography. I love having you guys here as well. And I do want to remind you, I'm going to be taking your questions live at the end today, so stay with me. In my course, there are people from all over the world who come in every single week and come in to learn the joy of photography. I love that. At first, when I created this course, I thought it'd just be people who were in America, or maybe people in Japan. And then organically, people came in from everywhere, and they come in every single week for the live sessions and all learn. Now, this course, you have 2 options to join: one-time payment or pay it in installments, totally up to you. This course is about your growth, helping you become the best photographer you can be. So for that reason, I've given you 2 options to join: breakdown payments or do it all at once, totally up to you. In this course, I give you a guarantee because I know everything in this course works. And I give you a 30-day money-back guarantee, so the risk is all on me. Now, this is how you learn how to take amazing pictures and add your twists so people can refer you and want you because your pictures have improved. It has your fingerprint on the work. How do you get there? You go and you practice all the time. And as you're practicing, I want to be there to see your work and watch you grow. Yes, you can do things on your own, but when you have a mentor, somebody to be there right beside you, see your work, push you, give you assignments, watch you, critique you, that's when you really grow as a photographer. Now, again, to join, hit that QR code, be a part of photography lighting course. This course is made for you to get results, to grow as a photographer. Set your goal, hit your goal, set a new goal, hit that goal. That's why I made this course. If that's you, come on and join, be a part of the PLC family. Now, I told you earlier, I'm going to take your questions live. No matter what platform you're on, just go in here and add your question in right now, and I will answer all your questions. Like somebody said earlier, Roy said, Sunny 16, what's the Sunny 16 rule? So Earlier, I talked about Sunny 16 and overpowering sunlight. So the sun can only be so bright. And back in the film days, we had this thing where we said, oh, the Sunny 16 rule is that if you have, say, a sun, it's a full blue sky, bright sun, that sun can only be f16 at 1/125th of a second at ISO 100. That's the brightest the sun can ever be, period. That's the Sunny 16 rule. Now, at ISO 100, f16 at a shutter speed of 1/25th of a second, once you have that information, you can make your light more than that. For example, say I'm shooting outside and I have a camera and I want to power my strobe light to be f22. F22 at ISO 100 at 1/125th of a second is one stop over sun. So right now, shooting at f22 in that situation is going to drop my sky down. I can do more by taking my shutter speed higher and go to 1/250th of a second. That's two stops more than sunlight, dropping the sky down more, making your subject stand out more. Now, that's at ISO 100. What if you drop your ISO down even more to like 80 or 64? Hopefully you're getting this. But if you don't, join PLC and I'll walk you through it personally, how you can take advantage of the Sunny 16 rule and have control of your light. I love that question. Somebody was asking earlier also about a reflector, if I use reflectors. I do on some images. It depends on what the image is and how I use it. But yeah, I use all the tools at my disposal all the time to get the right look I want, the right feeling I want, control the light and control the shadows. I believe in that in a big, big way. So bring on your questions, no matter what they are. There is no silly question. There is no silly question. Ask anything you want. I'll be here every week sharing stories, sharing everything I know to help you become a better photographer. Oh, Roy says, I turned pro in 1978 and still learning. I love that, Roy, because I'm still learning too. And that's what's so cool about this industry. It doesn't stay still and stagnant, it's forever changing. And what that means is we as photographers have to evolve and change all the time. I remember back in the day when it turned from being film only to being film and digital. And many photographers were like, no, I'm not going to shoot digital. And, it's like being a dinosaur. You kind of like die off. You can't do that. You've got to be up on the times all the time, baby. You got to make sure you are rocking and rolling, staying true to yourself, but continuing to being a forever student. That's when you grow in any field and definitely in photography. Be a forever student. Sorry about that there. So come on in. I love you guys being there and asking questions. Again, don't be shy about your questions. Ask anything about the course, about the lesson, about the story. Do so and subscribe to your channel either way that you want to watch on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter. Be a part of this family. I'll be here every week dropping knowledge to you. So thank you for all that. Thank you for being here. Let me share my joy of photography. It means the world to me. Somebody says, do I miss film? Well, to be truthful, I still shoot film, but it's only for my art projects. So for work and for all of that, I'm always shooting digital. But for my personal work, my art projects, on that, I still shoot film. And if you shoot film, you know the price of film is sky high these days. But there's a special look to film, and I save that for special projects. Oh, he's a great one also. Is the light meter still a main tool you use? Abso-freaking-lutely, baby. I use a light meter all the time. I actually have like a two in my bag right now. I always use a light meter. I don't like to guess about light. I don't like to guess about the shadow. You can't look at light and know it just by looking at light. It doesn't happen that way. You can guess for sure. And today, a lot of people guess. But if you want to stand out as a photographer and look more professional to your clients, a light meter really helps you along the way. I'll share a lot more about light meters coming up very soon as I go deeper into that stuff. Love seeing you guys. Which light meter am I using right now? Oh, the 878. I like my Sekonic top of the line meters. That's the one I use most of the time, the top of the line light meter. I also use a color meter, and I'm using that top of the line color meter by Sekonic. All these Sekonic light meters are great. Find the one that fits your budget and use it. Trust me, it's gonna make a huge difference for you as you learn to master light. No one can just look at light and know what it's going to be. It's impossible. I've heard people say that they do that, or they've been doing photography for years and they just know it's going to be f8. That's just a guess. If you want to be exact and know your light and know more about your camera, know more about shadows and how to manipulate light, get a light meter. It makes such a big difference. Oh, here's a great question. Is the gray card and color checker needed? Absolutely. Absolutely. So on this trip that I'm on now, I'm here in the States now. I'm going to leave tomorrow going back to Japan. I didn't bring my color meter. I was trying to keep my bag light. So I left my color meter, but I brought 2 light meters. So as I'm doing a shoot, I actually went to New York for one day, did a shoot there, and I pulled up my color meter to take my first shot. And the reason why I use the color meter, I can make sure I have that neutral color palette as I go forward. The color palette with the color checker, I take that first picture with a color checker, and when I download my pictures, I hit my gray, and as it makes everything neutral. Super cool to use that. Going a step further would be using a color meter. That's a step further than just going for just getting your neutral color. I have more control of the light, of the color, of changing my color to be anything I want to be. A color checker is going to give me a neutral color. But what if I want, say, all my pictures to be a color temperature of 4950, which I used to use that only all the time. All my images were color temperature of 4950. It was a subliminal way of having an identity. So I can use a color meter to make sure my color on every picture is that color temperature. That's that next level stuff. We'll go into that one in a separate one as well, because I think that's a great question. And thank you for asking that one about the gray card and the color checker. Yes, those babies are great tools to use. Thank you so much for asking all these questions. Wow. Oh, I lost my message. Taka says, I get paid on the 31st. I will join in. We can't wait to have you with us. So come on into the PLC family. We'd love to have you on board and learn more and more and more about the joy of photography. Thank you all for being here today. And let me share what I love so much. It just feels so good. So come on in, be a part of PLC. Also, come back here every single week. I'll be here dropping knowledge and taking your questions live. All right, I'm gonna sip my green tea. I'm gonna pack and jump on the plane back to Japan in the morning. All right, everybody. Arigato gozaimasu. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Take care, everyone. Bye. Have a great day or night wherever you are in the world.